Hi readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I've been off a bit because of the holidays, but more importantly, because I was struggling again with a cold and really couldn't talk well without a lot of post-nasal drip and coughing. So I've gone to urgent care. We are all trying to doctor up a little bit because many of us in our family are sick. In fact, we haven't celebrated Christmas yet because everybody is getting the flu. So I'm staying at home, tending to my own stuff and hoping that I don't get the flu. But we are trying to get together for Christmas on New Year's Day. So that'll be fun. We can celebrate both holidays in one moment. But today I am bringing forward my January list of anticipated reads, some that I think you will like, some that I think I will love, some return authors for me, some new authors for me. Ultimately, I have researched this weeks ago and I really wanted it out sooner, but it is what it is. So we're going to talk about them today. I think I have maybe 12 or 13. I'm not sure. A little bit over 10, definitely. I was trying to keep it at 10, but there's a lot of stuff in January. And some of my favorite readers are bringing something back. So that's a good time to be looking at these and seeing what I'm going to pre-order or what I'm going to get from the library, how I'm going to manage this. Okay. Let's start with January 7th, which is a Fiona Davis title that is coming out. I have read 2 books of Fiona Davis's novels already, and I loved one of them, which was The Lions of Fifth Avenue. And I also read The Magnolia Palace, which I got from Book of the Month, and it was good, but I really loved the book about the New York Public Library. This one is about an archaeological dig. And if you're a fan of Fiona Davis, you know this already, but if you're not, Fiona Davis always writes dual timelines, usually 2 women characters, and their paths cross in some way, if not physically. And this one starts in Egypt, which is a time that I used to read a lot of books about, and so I was really kind of drawn to this one, and I probably will read it, but I may get it from the library without purchasing it. It's got good ratings so far. So this begins the journey with an archaeologist, well, a woman who's accepted to a dig. Her name is Charlotte Cross, and she is given the opportunity to come on a dig in Egypt in the Valley of the Kings, and they find something there that changes her life forever, and I don't know what it is or how her life changes, and I don't want to know. But then you fast forward to New York City, which a lot of these are set in, and you meet 18-year-old Annie Jenkins, who has been asked in 1978, this timeline, who has been asked to participate in this Met Gala planning, and she is connected to a woman who works for Vogue magazine. And so this is a very elegant, if you know what the Met Gala is, you know it's just one of the most prestigious events of the year that lots of people look forward to. Charlotte is now living in a quiet place, and she is a part of the curating of the Metropolitan Museum's Department of Egyptian Art. And something happens that's connected to this upcoming gala that opens up some new revelations about what happened to her back in 1936 in this Egyptian dig in the Valley of the Kings. So she and Annie are connected now together in some way, but there is an antiquity that is related to this dig that has been stolen. And so Charlotte and Annie are going to team up to try to solve this mystery. And this one does sound good to me. And I used to read a novelist whose name is Elizabeth something, who wrote a lot of books about archaeological digs. And she was, it's a series, and I have a couple of them. I've always kind of been drawn to that. My sister introduced me to a lot of books in this vein, and so this one might be one that I definitely do decide to read. Maybe not right away, but for sure. So that's a returning author to me, and this one is as well. This is The Heart of Winter by Jonathan Evison. I just read again and again not long ago for a book club that I belong to, a virtual book club, and I liked that book. It wasn't like oh my God, this was incredible, but it was really, really good. But when I saw this one as a new release for Jonathan Evison, I loved the premise of this, and I really think that I might absolutely adore this one. So this is a romance fiction, literary fiction, really, and it is it's a contemporary novel as well. Again and again, had some magical realism kinds of time shift travel things in it that were sometimes hard to keep track of. But this one I think is just kind of a solid story that starts in one timeline and ends in one timeline. This is about a couple named Abe and Ruth. They're married and have been together for a really, really long time. Their coming together was not something that either one of them expected would happen. They live on Bainbridge Island, which is actually one of my favorite places. And they have hens and dogs, and they just sound like my kind of people. But they have had some life, right? They're older people, and some things have happened to them over the years. But they're Ruth, the main character, she loses a tooth, and they find out that something else is going on with her health wise. And so they are kind of noticing some changes with Ruth, and her ability to be independent and self sufficient has changed. And so Abe is having to take some care of her. That's one of the reasons I love this cover, because it speaks to, I think, what you can expect from this book, and just the love and this connection of this couple. So it is an exploration of 70 years of their marriage and of their present day challenges, as well as some of the things that have happened to them in the past. And I love like family sagas, but also in this case, some of the family might be dogs and hens, but it just sounds like right up my street. So I can't wait for this one, and I probably will. I don't know if I will own this one. I purchased again and again on Libro.fm as an audio. So I might do that again. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to read it. And soon, I think. This next one is a book that was featured as a book of the month debut, new release in December, and I didn't choose it. It is called Homeseeking by Carissa Chen. And a lot of people have been talking about it, and it wasn't on my radar until the middle of December or so. So this is historical fiction, but also I think has a more present timeline as well. And then it's also being billed as literary fiction and romance. So it's got a lot packed into this one little book, and it's got good reviews as well. So this is about Hai Wen and Suchi, who are teenagers in 1940s in Shanghai. They're friends as children, and they have a connection. They feel it between themselves, and they are soulmates, is the way it's being described. But then Hai Wen enlists in the army so that his brother will not be drafted. So I guess that way there's only one child left, so they won't take that child into the army. And so they separate from each other and don't see each other again until 1966, and they're reconnected. He sees her, and something obviously connects, and they both realize that there they are again together. And this just sounds like a great novel to me. I also love this cover. There is a giveaway currently. You'll be watching this soon, so I can tell you have 8 days, and it's a Kindle giveaway though, but I would take it. I would be honored to read this book, and I do think that this one is getting some good buzz that makes me believe that I would like it. I don't know a lot about Carissa Chen. I think this is her first novel. She's written some short stories, I think, maybe some other kinds of writing, but I think this is her debut novel. I love those found romance stories. They just get me every time. All right, that's all for January 7th. Now let's go to January 14th. The book I did select for Book of the Month, so I'll be hauling that soon, but I didn't bring it in here because it'll stay with the other babies that were hauled this month. This one is Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. I have not completed all of Alice Feeney's titles, but this one is one that I am interested in. And I love this cover too. So this group will all have been published January 14th until I say otherwise. But this is a thriller, mystery, what you would expect from Alice Feeney. But Beautiful Ugly is a little bit different than some of her other plots. They're almost always about couples, but this one is about Grady, whose wife is driving home from somewhere that she's been, and he's talking to her on the phone in the car when he hears the brakes screech and nothing. Her car is later found by the edge of a cliff, and she's presumed dead because the driver's side door is open and her phone is still in the car, but she's not anywhere near. A year later, Grady is still grieving, and he's really struggling with the fact that his wife is gone. And so he goes on a trip to Scotland, and he's just trying to recover there and be in a different place, but he sees someone that he thinks is his wife. So the tagline for this is wives think their husbands will change, but they don't. Husbands think their wives won't change, but they do. Take that in the way that you take it. I'll take it in the way that I take it. But I did buy this one and I probably will read this one soon because it just really is like calling to me. It sounds really, really good. And it's pretty short. So I feel like I could read it in a day or two. It's 320 pages. So I'm in the mood for a mystery thriller. And wait till you see what I've read this month and you'll know why. The In Between Bookstore, which is Edward Underhill, another new author to me, also January 14th. Love this cover, but this is really strange. It is a fantasy. Now, I keep saying I don't read a lot of fantasy. This might be the year, right? Who knows? We'll see. But this one is an LGBTQ queer representation fictional book, a book about books, which is my jam. And it's also about time travel. A magical bookstore that transports a trans man through time and brings him face to face with his teenage self, offering him the chance to examine his life and his identity to find a new beginning. That is the tagline for this book, and it sounds wonderful to me. So it's also set in a small town in Illinois called Oak Falls, which maybe reminds you of Oak Park if you've been from that area or other places. I lived on Oakwood Avenue when I was a kid. Yeah, there's a lot of oaks in Illinois, but this one is really sounding wonderful to me. I don't want to know a whole lot more about this one, just that's enough for me. And it's enough for me to say, yeah, I think I'm going to read this one. It's a shorter one, 272 pages, but this is incredible. And this author, Edward Underhill, has written a number of other books, but I had never heard of Edward Underhill, so I may be taking a look at a few of those as well. This is a return author for me. This is Tracy Lang's new release, which is called What Happened to the McCraes. It's also getting a good buzz and some good ratings. I have enjoyed two books I've already read by Tracy Lang, and I think that's her complete list. Let me just check before I tell you that. Yes, I would be a Tracy Lane completionist if I finish What Happened to the McCraes. This one I love this title, but I also am mindful of the fact that this is a very similar title to another author on my shelves. This one is tough. This one also is my thing, and Tracy Lang's jam really is to write books about families that have had some sort of a disconnect and they are struggling to rekindle a relationship or to get over some of the things that have happened in their lives. This one is no different. I'm okay. That's what I expect from Tracy Lang, and I'm down for it. But this is about Kyle McCrae, who finds out that his father has had a stroke and he has to return home to his hometown of Potsdam, New York. I had to write that down. He's not been in the favor of his family because he left. He left his wife. He left his job as a teacher. He just disappeared. He just ghosted everybody. But he does come home to try to support and take care of his dad, who's really struggling physically and cognitively. He then realizes, though, when he returns home, that the impact on his family of his disappearance, if you will, has been pretty significant. And he's also then asked to come back to the school and be the coach for their little hockey team. And so he kind of reasserts himself into the community and tries to, I guess, rekindle his relationship with his dad and maybe his wife. I don't know. But again, whatever happens to the McCraes is unknown to me, but I do think that this is a reader or a writer that I will return to. So because I own the other two, We Are the Brennans and The Connollys of County Down, I do think I will be purchasing this one in hardback. Maybe not immediately in January, but I was hoping it would be a Book of the Month Club selection, but I looked this morning at the Book of the Month Club list and this is not on there. So the next one, the last one that I have on the list for the 14th of January is The Really Dead Wives of New Jersey. Sorry, my voice just all of a sudden goes weird. My words are struggling to come out today and my voice is up and down. Astrid Dahl is the author of this book, and this one has fewer high ratings than the others that I've already talked about. So I'm bringing this forward to you, though, because I received an unsolicited ARC of this from NetGalley. Well, they did ask me if I wanted it, certainly, but I said yes, but I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this so far. For me, so far, this is a 3 star, but again, I'm only 16% in. So this is about a number of wives who are on one of these reality show housewives shows, and they're living in New Jersey in the Garden State. They're called the Garden State Goddesses, and they've known each other in some form or fashion, most of them, I think, for their lives. I'm still kind of trying to get rooted in all of these characters, and it's a little tricky because there's a lot of them, but they all have their own quirks. They're on a reality show. They're trying to make it dramatic, right? They're trying to make the producers happy with what they're sharing. There's just a lot of stuff going on so far, but eventually, in this book, you know this in the synopsis, something tragically ends up happening. One of them, I think, ends up dead, at least one of them. So, I'm curious about it. I'm going to finish it. Again, I have a couple of weeks left, a little bit more than a couple of weeks left to finish this one, and we'll see. We'll just see. But so far, I'm trying to carry along with it, and I have it on my Kindle. There is, if you want a free print copy giveaway possibility, there is a giveaway now for 6 days after this opens today and posts on my channel. So you might be able to get your hands on a copy of it if you win. This one is, it could be great. It really could be great, but it right now has a 3.46 rating, but not a lot of people have read it. So we'll see. All right, let's move on to January 21st, where we have Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is the third in the Empyrean series. I think there are going to be 5 altogether for this series. That's the information I am seeing now anyway. And I have only read book 1, which was hyped a lot. And because book 1 was hyped a lot, I did purchase Iron Flame, but I did not yet read Iron Flame. So I've only read Fourth Wing, and I liked it. It's not that I did not like it, for sure. I don't know that I rated this book. Now that I'm looking back on it, I did not give it a rating. That's interesting. But I read this back when it came out in 2023. And this was the winner for the favorite romantasy novel in 2023 on Goodreads. A lot of people love this series. I think for me, this was one of those examples where the hype was higher than the actual reading experience, but it wasn't bad. I guess if I were to tell you what I probably rated it, it was probably a 3.5 or a 4. I just never went in and listed it. There's a lot of divisiveness around this book. If you don't like the series, there's a lot of sort of, how can you not like this series? Again, bear with me. Fantasy is not necessarily my genre of choice, but I'm gonna embrace it a little bit more, and I think I might go ahead and read book 2 this year. I'm not certain though. It is a little bit shorter than book 1, so that might help. But I don't want to know anything about Onyx Storm because it'll spoil everything that I don't know about book 2. So if you like it, it's out. If you want to start with Fourth Wing, I would recommend it. It was a good book. It was well written. Three Wild Dogs and the Truth is a memoir by Marcus Zuzak. This one also comes out January 21st, and nonfiction, I really think this is going to be one that I read, although maybe won't purchase. I do own The Book Thief. I have not finished The Book Thief. I hate to say that to you out loud. I started it years ago, but I started it in a place where I was just not there. I was just not, I don't know what it was about it, but I just wasn't there at the time. But I felt like I was going to go back. And I think my youngest finished The Book Thief, and several friends of mine finished The Book Thief. I've not watched the movie either because I don't want to do that until I read the book. But Three Wild Dogs and the Truth is about Marcus's experience with, and his wife's experience with, these 3 crazy wild rescue dogs that they ended up with, that they are called troublesome rescue dogs. And it's a love story about bringing animals into your life as family. Can I think of a better book for my partner in life? No, I cannot. So I definitely think that this one is one that we're both going to read. Despite the fact that it doesn't come out till the 21st of January, it has a 4.25 rating so far, and 673 people have read it and rated it, and 100 people have written a review on it. So I am pretty sure that we're going to have this one on our shelves. This is a sort of an experience of, and we know this so well because you open this up and you think this is going to be a great experience, and they're all going to get along and everything's going to be easy. And then, things happen. Books get eaten. I just actually said no to a dog foster because of the dog's age and because of its breed. Having had that breed before, we have Christmas gifts all over the house still because we haven't celebrated yet. That would have been a disaster. That would have just been a disaster. So we said no, we couldn't yet do that, but we found another foster mom who could do that, and so that worked out really, really well. But there's a mad there's a mad kind of a frenzy that occurs when you have certainly more than one dog, and if they're kind of on the wild side. So I think that this is going to be beautiful, though, and poignant and sweet, and also probably very funny. So very different than The Book Thief, probably, but I'm all in. I'm all in. All right, so the next one is by an author that I loved. I read Black Cake for Mardi Gras Readathon a while ago, and this one is called Good Dirt. And I think Charmaine Wilkerson is an author that I am going to love. We will see. This one has some pretty high ratings already, just in the advanced reader copy reviews. Beautiful cover, just as Black Cake was a beautiful cover. This is a family saga, which of course, it's like catnip for me, and it is also a difficult one. Black Cake was not an easy read either, but this one is about a Black family whose the young girl's name is Ebby Freeman, and she witnesses her brother Baz being shot in the street in their neighborhood. And so, of course, that's obviously something that has been with her for her whole life. It has been sort of this really conflicting experience for her family as well as for some of the other people that live in that neighborhood. And they're in New England, so it's in a pretty affluent neighborhood as well. The public's always sort of been focused on this. It's not something she can shed. And then she has a romance relationship that falls apart, and she just leaves and goes to Paris. She's just kind of got to get away and try to distance herself from these things that happened that were so difficult for her in her life in this place that she's lived in for so many years. But she also finds a stoneware jar that has been in her family forever. She discovers some things about an enslaved ancestor that she knew nothing about. So there's a historical fiction piece to this as well as a literary contemporary fiction piece to it. And it is, again, about family and overcoming some family experiences, and I think it's just something that I need. So this one is tough. The Girls of the Glimmer Factory is really predominantly about a character named Hannah, who is in a Jewish prison camp, and she's been there for a bit. This prison camp is called Theresienstadt, I think. But again, even though I have German heritage on my father's side, that's not necessarily an accurate pronunciation. She is living in the camps, and they are making a film about her and the other people living in this prison camp because the Nazis want to show the world that Jewish prisoners are being treated well. And in this case, apparently for the moment, these prisoners of war are being treated well. Hannah wants everyone in the world to know the truth, so she is going to do whatever she can, and I suspect she's going to align with some other girls in this prison camp to show the world what's actually happening for them, and that people are being deported more frequently to the death camps, and so there's not any reality to the fact that these prisoners of war are being treated well. And this was attempted a number of times during the war by Nazis in Germany to, and Hitler in particular, to show people that they were all fine. Hildy, though, another character in this book, is a Nazi believer, and she works for the Reich Ministry of Enlightenment and Propaganda. So she is the person that is connected to this film. She wants to create this documentary to help people see that things are going well here because they are losing the war slowly, and she's wanting something to kind of help to create some momentum for the Germans and the Nazis in particular. She finds herself in a place where she can make a name for herself as well by making a film about this current situation. And then she meets Hannah again because they've known each other in a previous time period. So now you have Hannah, who's trying to stop the film and ruin it and get out and save all of her fellow prisoners of war. And you have Hildy, who is trying to do exactly the opposite. This sounds really great to me. Holocaust fiction, adult fiction, World War II, Jewish themes, historical fiction. Yeah. I mean, what an important scenario, what an important plot, and what an important read. So that's why I brought it forward for sure. And then the last one is written by two authors, neither of whom I have read anything by before. So this is Trust Issues by Elizabeth McCullough Keenan and Greg Wands. So this is also a 28 January release. It has some smaller amount of ratings, but so far reasonably anticipating that this will be a good one. And I love this cover too. Thriller, fiction, mystery, suspense. I'm really craving this now. Really, really ready for it. Get this. So they're two siblings, Hazel and Kagan Bailey, and they haven't been particularly close for a while. And they just kind of been living their own lives, and their mother dies under some mysterious circumstances. So they reach out to their stepfather, who is not somebody that either one of them are particularly fond of, and they are noticing how dramatically grief stricken he appears to be, which is not the personality that they would have attributed to this man and the relationship that he had apparently with their mom. They then try to find out from their mother's lawyer, like what it is that may be left for them to settle and how, how they need to strategize this. And they discover that they have been cut off. There's not a lot of money. I guess this stepdad went through the money too, which I guess you're not surprised by. They decide to go out and look for the other daughter, his daughter, to see what happened and to see if they can make any sense of what occurred with the money and their mom and all this stuff. That he says she's dead. She tragically died years ago. So they had no idea that this had happened. Obviously, these were not people that were communicating frequently. They discover something about the stepsister, and they're going to now try to solve this mystery of what happened to their mom and whether or not their mom was murdered, and was the stepsister really dead? I'm assuming not, but Trust Issues pretty much sums up the whole issue with this particular book, but it does sound like an intriguing plot. It sounds pretty complex, but it sounds like an intriguing plot. So I might pick this one up. I'm going to watch the buzz around this one as people start reading it just to see what they think. But I've never read either one of these authors before. And sometimes dual writers work really, really well, especially if they focus on two different characters, and so it might be very, very well done. And again, it has some decent ratings, but not a lot of people are taking a look at it. So that, my friends, fellow readers, is my list of January's anticipated reads. And it was really, really fun curating this. I'm already working on February's. One of my goals this year, just not necessarily a written goal, but my inside of my heart, mind, and spirit goals, is to try to be more proactive and plan more ahead. So I'm going to try to dig out of the the weirdness that has been this month and really start to be proactive about what I'm doing in the new year. So I will keep you posted on that, as well as some other anticipated reads all throughout the year. So let me know which one of these you're really interested in as a result of watching this video. Let me know what you're anticipating in January of 2025 or anytime in 2025, because quite frankly, I'm going to start tracking a list of the books that you all recommend to me, because I haven't been doing a good job of that. And now I have my new book, which is just like my old one, but it also says 2025, so I won't get them mixed up. But I had gotten three of these at Barnes and Noble years ago, and so I'm using them, and I have pretty much, I'm almost at, here's my reading goals, quick. But I'm almost halfway already with these kind of setups that I have just for notes, and that makes me happy. And then I'm getting back to my Bujo, my bookish Bujo, real quickly too. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm gonna track more things and make more notes that make sense to me and aren't just, oh, here's this note. Oh, here's this note under this one. That didn't work for me. So much more organized, which hopefully leads to much more calm, which I think is my word of the year. Thanks for watching, readers. I appreciate all of you very much. And as always, happy reading. Bye.